Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. We are back with the Trif3cta Sports podcast, episode 15. Today's episode is going to be a lot of NFL talk, NFL heavy. There's a lot of storylines floating around the league, and pretty much all of them are bad. So we're going to hit up a lot of different negative storylines with the NFL, including the Texans and the Deshaun Watson case, more Washington football team garbage going on. Tom Brady addressing rumors that he wanted to go to Miami. We have some, I would say, eerie news coming out of the Chargers camp. And then we've already covered a lot of things recently about, the Cowboys cheerleaders, the Raiders, the Browns, Flores, all those types of things we've covered in the past, and those are going to pop up again here today. But we're going to kick off the show giving a highlight to the College World Series. The College World Series field is almost set as of this point. I'm recording this on Monday, June 13th. We have Notre Dame, Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Stanford, Arkansas, Ole Miss, and then the winner of Auburn and Oregon State will stamp their trip to Omaha. Just a quick shout out to Notre Dame. They did the Lord's work and knocked out Tennessee. I did pick Tennessee to win last week. Simply because I thought they were the best team in the country. But the baseball gods, I guess, shined a light on why you don't disrespect the game like the Tennessee Volunteers did. I'm all for playing with passion, playing, with high levels of energy, but flipping off the right fielder as you're rounding first base and arguing with balls and strikes on an umpire and then crying like a baby when you get thrown out. They didn't have a good look throughout this the postseason so far. A lot of people didn't like them. They thought they didn't play a good brand of baseball. And Notre Dame did the Lord's work and knocked them out in the Supers. So shout out to the Catholics over there at Notre Dame. I know David's proud of them. But David is our token Catholic of our trio.
Doing the Lord's work.
So moving on, we have the PGA. PGA Tour wrapped up the Canadian Open this weekend with Rory McIlroy taking away the victory there. He is the defending champ, although he's a two-time defending champ now, although the event hadn't been held there in 3 years due to other COVID reasons and things like that. But finally made its way back to Canada. Canadian Open, Rory McIlroy takes a win. At the same time, we had the LIV Golf Tour kicking off things in London. We spoke a lot about that last week. Charles Schwartzel ended up taking the win there. But we do want to give a shout-out to the second-place finisher of Henny Duplessis. Or Duplessis. I think it's Duplessis, if I'm not mistaken. I watched a little bit of the highlights on it. He had a career earning of under $1 million since turning pro in 2015. That's 7 years ago. This past weekend on the LIV Golf Tour, the dude won $2.125 million this weekend. More than doubled his career earnings in one tournament for the LIV Golf Tour. That's the reason why you're seeing a lot of these guys jump back and forth from the PGA Tour to the LIV Golf Tour, regardless of the, the negativity surrounding it based on it being owned and funded by the Saudi Arabians who take that for what you will. I'm not going to get into the politics of how things are being ran over there in the Middle East. But golf right now is in a state of, I would say, chaos. So this week we have the U.S. Open being held starting on Thursday. Players are starting to arrive. One notable player that has arrived is Phil Mickelson, who played in the LIV Golf Tour event in London. Didn't do very well. Most notably, none of the big-name golfers that we mentioned last week did very well in the individual portion of the LIV Golf Tour event in London. The one thing that is pretty cool would be that they had teams. Team names are dumber than hell, in my opinion. You had the Crushers, the Aces. It's like a Little League softball name. But they did get points for certain scores on holes, and you had a podium, first, second, third place gets paid. I think the pot was like $5 million or something crazy like that. You know, does that sound right? Do you guys? I'm not 100% sure on the number there.
I think the total purse was $25 million. It's the same for every event.
Yeah.
That they have this season. I don't know what the team split was.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I know the last place finisher made $125,000.
Yeah.
So, you know, people on Twitter are kind of dogging the people that have, you know, moved over there and is doing their thing with the LIV Golf Tour. And if you've looked through social media and saw some of the interviews leading up to the event, a lot of it was political, you know. And then, well, I did see a cool, not really cool, but I did see an interesting take by the PGA commissioner yesterday, and said that, you know, the PGA Tour is going to keep doing what they're doing. People, whether they want to leave, they want to come. That, you know, we've been the premier golf, you know, league or organization for hundreds of years. And then he ended his statement with, "I've never heard of anybody apologizing for being a part of the PGA Tour." And by that, he's referencing the, you know, I guess the over politicalization of who is backing the LIV Golf Tour, who's funding the bill. And these golfers aren't, they're simply coming out and they're not really saying why they went. And we all know it's because of the money. You know, Dustin Johnson's making, you know, $250 million to be there, to play eight events a year. So, like I said, state of golf is in, I wouldn't call it turmoil just yet, but I think this LIV Golf thing will keep on and be a thing for a long time, in my opinion. I just don't know if it'll be as popular as it is, because you couldn't watch it unless it was streamed on YouTube. There's no television networks picking it up because, you know, you have the Golf Channel, CBS, NBC. They're all going to be on the PGA. They have deals for those guys. But to watch those events in here in the States, it's going to be pretty difficult unless you get on YouTube and stuff and watch that, which is how I did. But you guys have any thoughts on the current state of the sport of golf?
I think one thing you mentioned there, kind of the association that they have, the politics of it, kind of reminds me of the WNBA a little bit, because we're not a high-paying league in terms of other women's basketball around the world. And players who follow that money know that inherently they're at some kind of risk, whether it's reputation, whether it's physical. Like, you look at Brittany Griner right now. She's imprisoned over there, detained, but she went over there because that league pays more money than the WNBA.
She
makes $1 million. Yeah, she makes $1 million a season playing in Russia, and that's more than her WNBA salary. And it's a little different because these players aren't physically in those high-risk areas. I think there's, 5 of their 8 events are on U.S. soil. I think I saw that, like next tournament's in Pumpkin Hollow. But politically and from a social standpoint, they are at that much risk, depending on, how these relationships take place. And it's something they've all weighed out personally.
Too.
Yeah.
So, like,
it's something they've all weighed out personally. I don't blame any of them. I mean, you got to make your money while you can. And
we mentioned it last week too. A lot of these guys are on the back end of their careers.
Yeah.
We talked before the show started on how, I'm not really worried about the state of the PGA Tour and the product that they put on, because of all of the young, up and coming talent who seems to be taking over all the leaderboards. And you guys asked me, like, this past weekend at the Canadian Open, if any of those guys hadn't signed over there, would the leaderboard look any different? And to be quite honest with you, I don't think it would have. Rory, Justin Thomas, and Tony Finau. And you had Corey Connors was up there too, and then a couple more guys that were thrown in the mix that they're all under 30, every single one of them. So the state of golf is in good hands with these young guys, and I don't see them making the jump, because the PGA Tour, where it stands now, that's where the best golfers play. That's where the best competition is, and that's where you're going to kind of make your legacy from here on out. Nobody's going to remember what you did on the LIV Golf Tour unless it's around for 50 years.
Yeah.
Right? See what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think I would argue the opposite side, because all you have to do is look at earnings this week. Charles Schwartzel took home like $5 million for winning. Rory took home 1.5. Tony Finau took home 900. Second place, I don't know what you said his name was, but he took home 2? And I think DJ Dustin Johnson, if you don't know, he goes by DJ. I think he hit it on the head. Somebody in the media was asking him, why did you do it? He's like, I signed so I could play less golf in my life. He signed up to play 8 events for 4 years.
Plus his winnings.
And he's going to get $150 million for it. Just showing up. Just to show up. And he's going to get paid, for whatever place he gets. And then he's going to go play in the 4 majors. So he now is probably playing 30 to 40 weekends a year. Maybe not. Maybe 20, 25. Now he's going to play 12. He's going to get paid a hell of a lot more. And that's what he said to the guy, well, what are you going to do? Whatever the hell I want. And I think that's where a lot of people forget that they're average Joes just like us. They can just hit the hell out of a golf ball. They can put it where they want. They want to be sitting on a boat drinking a beer just as bad as I do. And that's where I think the PGA, I think it's really good that the PGA has like Rory and Justin Thomas who are giving them the sound bites, giving them the ammunition and to fire back. But I think the PGA has a serious issue at hand. And they're, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. But I think, what's the saying? If you fail to change, then change is going to run you over. And I think we're going to need to see something from the PGA quickly, or else you're going to see that this LIV tour or somebody else that's maybe a little more not as dramatic or political, something else come up and say, hey, we can take this talent and put a product in the field and make a lot more money than the PGA is going to do. So I think golf's in a great spot right now.
There's only one person on the entire PGA tour that offers more overall money and more winner share than every single live golf event. And that's the Tour Championship. It's the only one that has more money in it than all 8 of these events that are going on. And, I think the PGA made a mistake by suspending these players. I don't think that's the right way to start this relationship off. Obviously, none of them cared. Half of them had already resigned when they went to live. So it was like Dave said it in our messages. He's like, you can't get suspended after you quit. That's not how it works. Who fired who, Yeah. So I think that's a bad look. But yeah, golf will be fine. There's how many golfers are out there? And even the live event, they had 2 amateurs. They donated $270,000 to charity because they had amateurs playing that couldn't collect their earnings. That's not a bad look politically, in my opinion.
No, it's not. But
I know there's some other stuff at play there.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting how things play out, and we'll continue to cover some, groundbreaking things happening between the PGA and the Live Golf Tour. But like we said before at the beginning, the majority of this show is going to be geared around NFL news that has come out recently. We're going to start with the Houston Texans being added as defendants in the Deshaun Watson civil cases. His case count is currently up to 24. The New York Times reported 66 different massage therapists worked with Watson over a 17-month period. The Texans organization provided NDAs, or non-disclosure agreements, for the massage sessions and gave him membership to the hotel, the Houstonian was the name of the hotel, where several of the alleged incidents had happened. So basically, the Houston Texans helped Deshaun Watson do his thing while getting massages. So, thoughts on that, fellas?
I haven't ate 66 different meals in the last 17 months. So I don't understand the frequency of change there in any scenario. It's bad. It's terrible. Everybody knew about it. You don't have this come out in the New York Times. Obviously, the Texans knew about it. We're still trying to sell him for 3 draft picks. The Browns don't trade for him if they don't know about it. Like, there has to be some kind of stipulations in a trade where that team had to disclose information. The league had to know about it because they signed off on this trade. They allowed it to happen, so they had to see everything that went into it. It's pretty disgusting. I mean, I don't have another word for it. I'm mind blown. I can't believe the guy's still throwing a football right now, wearing team colors.
Yeah, I saw him on social media playing golf with his teammates.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll sign with the Live Golf Tour after he's never going to be allowed to play in the NFL again. How do you go on and deal with a situation like this? Knowing they're not criminal cases, they're civil cases, but the look of them and the reality of it is that this dude is a sleazeball and has done these things to countless individuals. Like, how do you move on from that? How do you you can't sweep that under a rug anymore. Like, that's not going to happen.
It doesn't. It doesn't have to be criminal for the league to step in. I mean, they have a code of conduct policy. You got Calvin Ridley sitting out for what he claims is $1,500. He lost an entire season. And I understand the rule is you can't bet. There's also some rules built around this as well. And it sounds like the use of team facilities, team membership, team non-disclosure agreements makes it even worse from a league standpoint. You put all of I know none of it is criminal, but you put the incriminating behavior aside, when you're affiliated in all of those actions with a league organization, to me, I mean, it makes it exponentially worse that the league hasn't done anything yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hit on this last week. It is.
I'm so pissed.
Imagine being Baker Mayfield.
I'm pissed
right
if
now.
I'm Baker Mayfield.
How happy is he?
You could.
How
Listen,
happy?
they're done with him. There's a reason they're done with him. So if I'm Baker Mayfield and I'm sitting here if I am sitting here in the QB room, I'm so pissed off at the Browns organizations. I want to leave so bad. I'm not going to be happy because of this guy is coming in and they're not going to do anything about it. I'm pissed at the beginning of him coming in and trying to take my job with another backup quarterback, by the way, who apparently is going to be the guy anyway before Baker Mayfield. I'm pissed off about it. Like, get me out of here as soon as you possibly can. Why am I here? You're wasting my time.
Right. And I get that. And I think that's how Baker should have been, up until, probably starting in June. But now that all this crap is coming out and it's looking like the league has to do something because the public is demanding it, I am laughing my ass off on Baker Mayfield. You guys can't trade me because you showed your hand before, and now you're going to have to cut me and pay me my guaranteed money because nobody else was traded for me. If I'm Baker Mayfield, I am showing up. I'm doing all the practices. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, and I'm just laughing. I'm just being like, every time I walk past that GM, like, good move, buddy. How's it turning out for you? I would show my ass as much as I could if I was Baker Mayfield because he has earned it. I mean, I stood up for him in our first ever podcast. I said, this guy gets more hate and he is going to perform this year. Yeah. And then, Deshaun Watson took his job. Deshaun Watson hasn't taken a snap in a year. Deshaun Watson, has he won a playoff game before?
I don't think he's made the playoffs.
I mean, he definitely made it. He definitely made it because I know Patrick Mahomes came back down from like 28. What was that, like 3 years ago or something like that? So, but I'm just saying, I think Baker Mayfield, he was a first overall pick for a reason. He's got dynamite accuracy. I think he was poised to have a decent year with Amari Cooper and actually getting a number one wide receiver that wasn't a diva. And, I was very interested to see what was going to happen this year. So if I'm Baker, I'm just waiting to get cut, and I'll go head on down to Seattle because that's
the Vegas odds.
That's where he's going to be.
Dropped on the Browns this week. Like, I think today, like, they were second place in that division. They were picked to finish second. They have dropped to a long shot third. And there's been no announcements. There's been no suspensions. But everybody knows they can't let this guy play football.
Yeah.
Like, you can't let it happen. And we spoke on Bauer in the MLB. I think it was he shouldn't be playing. They shouldn't have gave him that suspension. The NFL needs to take an example. You got to do something. Put him on the exempt list until we know something. But It's bad.
Yeah. So, apart from, the Deshaun Watson thing, and that's something else we're going to cover as things come out, and we're going to have our discussions. You kind of already know our opinions about the issue, but we also have the Washington football team back in the news. The Virginia Assembly said they are abandoning the legislation related to financial support of a new stadium for the Washington Commanders. We all know, and David can attest to this, their stadium is garbage. It's old. It's, literally falling apart. There was like sewage coming from the ceiling, landing on people. A group of guys almost fell on Jalen Hurts on the railing through the tunnel. There's too many pending issues with the organization to proceed with legislation. An announcement comes 2 days after defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio opened that big mouth of his and makes comments about standards related to the Black Lives Matter protests and the January 6th insurrection. He was fined, how much was it? $100,000, $100,000. Fined
Head coach.
Yeah, Ron Rivera, a minority himself. Come out and, I wouldn't say in support, but, there are standards to uphold when you're in a public position. Like, you're a coordinator on a highly touted professional organization in the nation's capital. So there are certain things you can say and certain things you shouldn't say, knowing damn good and well the repercussions of what you're going to say to the public. Whether or not you agree with one side or the other, sometimes it's just better to keep your damn mouth shut and coach football. Just because you're going to get yourself in deep water and you're going to find yourself without a job. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting your image. You're hurting your view from the public. This country is so divided one way or the other. It doesn't matter what you say. There's going to be somebody that disagrees with you, and that's okay. But in the end, you're there to coach football. I don't want to say you can't be involved in political, talk, but, OTAs, mini camps, things like that. We don't want to hear about that. We want to hear how the football team's doing. What are you doing to help them guys reach the playoffs? That's what we want to hear. And I don't want to be one of those guys that says, shut up and dribble, because there are certain aspects of, society today that needs to be hit on by people with that platform. But, sometimes it's best to just keep your damn mouth shut and coach, or keep your damn mouth shut and play.
Yeah, this is the beautiful, beautiful evil of social media. Everybody has their soapbox. And this is what, as a collegiate athlete or a potential collegiate athlete, this is what was always preached to me is watch what you tweet, because, coaches and future employers, they look at that stuff. And it's just kind of funny how many times has probably Jack Del Rio said that to a bunch of rookies. Yep. Watch what you say. Keep your opinions to your group. Don't put it out there. And here you go. And he goes out and, he's the number 2 face of number 3 face, Dan Snyder, Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio. I mean, the guy's a former NFL coach, and it's just the thing is he should know better. And that's the disappointing part. He can think that.
Absolutely.
He has every right to think whatever he wants to. But he knows that he is, whenever he speaks, everybody's looking at that W on the top of his cap. They're not looking at Jack Del Rio. Yeah. They're looking at the Washington Commanders. And that's just that's pretty much, I think, all you can say about it. It's just unfortunate. And
what he I'm sure he understands this, and he sent out an apology or whatever, but those are always bullshit. What he needs to understand, and what other people like you and I need to understand, is when you are representing the Washington Commanders, who have already been in deep crap the entire offseason with Dan Snyder, and then you have the stadium finances going all to hell, but you're bringing more negative attention to a program or an organization that already has enough of it.
Golly.
That you're a distraction at that point. You can't do that. And it's just, the same goes for anybody else in any other type of occupation. If you're in let's say, I'm a teacher, for example. If I'm going to get on Facebook and run my mouth about how I'm not getting paid enough, that's a bad look. No, I don't get paid enough, but that's not the reason I became a teacher. Would it be nice to be compensated for my job? Yeah, it would. But sometimes things just don't work out the way the way you want them to. You can you can wish in one hand and shit in the other, see which one fills up faster. You know what I'm saying? Yep. That's always something my dad used to tell me. You can sit and wish all you want, and if you want more money or want other things, got to go do more for it. So don't sit and expect a handout.
Yeah, the biggest issue to me is that this isn't the first time Del Rio's done this. This isn't strike one for him. It's really not even strike two. Maybe there's a statute of limitations on it. But when he was with the Raiders, I think as head coach.
Of course, the Raiders.
Right around the time Kaepernick took a knee. And his comments on that were, and agreed, the league at the time, I don't think had the correct response as a whole. Pretty critical of that decision by Kaepernick. But he was one that was like, it's never even been an issue. It's expected. We don't have to address it. Everybody's going to stand, and that's what it is. And that didn't go over well, again, however you feel on that topic, that's not the one-sided dictative message you want coming from the leader of your franchise. That's not, it's not inclusive. That's not supportive. That's not the environment you want a team and a locker room to have. And then going way back to the player strike, 35 years ago, there's pictures of Jack Del Rio beating someone up outside of the football stadium for trying to take a non-union player in while they were picketing for whatever that lockout was about. So to come out and make comments about these protests and the standards they have and the actions they take when you yourself were a violent person during a protest in the past, like publicly, it's in newspapers. You can go look up articles right now and find a picture. One Google search, top hit. It's not a good look for Jack Del Rio. It makes it so much worse. And again, 35 years, the world has changed. I'm sure that Jack has changed. You got to know you've made those mistakes in the past. It cannot happen. It can't keep happening. I'm really surprised that they gave him the fine instead of termination. I don't see both happening now. He must be a hell of a coach. That's all I got to say.
I mean, he's been in the league for this long.
Still in the league.
I mean, he always gets rehired. But
all right, boys.
Oh yeah, love this
conspiracy theory time. What if Dan Snyder said, "Hey, we need some help getting the attention off the stadium and me and Terry McLaurin want a new contract. I need you to go out there and say something that'll just get some press off of us. I need cameras on you. I will pay whatever fine Ron gives you. We will not fine you, and we'll be good. You just make sure it's good."
It sounds right up his alley.
Well, if that's the case, then Jack Del Rio did his job and did it well.
Nailed it.
That makes a lot of sense, though. Now, when it comes out here in about a week or two that actually happened, that we're talking about the Washington Commies again. What a great name for a franchise, by the way. It's
They're living
so
up
fitting
to it,
now.
I'll tell you that.
It's so fitting.
3 years to think about, what do we want to name it? And nobody thought, what's short for Commanders?
It just fits. The Commies, it fits.
I mean, I could still see SEC charges for the ticket sales. I am mind blown at this organization. We got a hostile work environment. We got false ticket sales, possibly embezzlement. We've got
a stadium falling apart.
Stadium's falling apart.
Man,
it's a working hazard. OSHA's going to come in and cite Dan Snyder.
What a last couple of years the Washington organization has.
Welcome to my life.
They got a great D line though.
My life.
They do. They draft well.
Hell yeah, they do. Let's hope Chase. Well, we just stick with.
You
Alabama
really can't go wrong
State.
there.
I mean, it's a
now you throw Georgia
there.
into the mix. I think you got a pretty good defense. All right, so moving on to the next NFL topic, we've got the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. Before I get into what this says, who was it that mentioned it might have been Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe, that mentioned that Tom Brady is the greatest champion in the history of football, but Peyton Manning is the greatest quarterback of all time. Was that him that said that?
He did say Peyton was the greatest quarterback. I didn't see the full quote.
Was it Ryan Fitzpatrick that said that though?
Yes.
Oh, shout out to Fitzmagic, by the way, retiring from the game of football after 14 years. Former Bengal, former a lot of other teams. But
he's a Bill at heart. That's what he says. The Bills is what he wants to be remembered for.
He's a maniac. I love him. I see him in the crowd in the Bills playoff games while he's playing for another team with his shirt off, and it's like 10 degrees outside. Just Bills Mafia through and through. What a good dude. Wish him the best. But Tom Brady, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. He retired, and then all of a sudden we knew. We said a bunch of us said that it wasn't gonna follow through with that. He was going to come back at some point. So we had speculated that once he come back, he was going to try to make an attempt to play for the Miami Dolphins. So here's a direct quote. It says, "I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, as I've had for the past 3 or 4 years of my career, about different opportunities when I'm done playing football. So reports are out today that Miami offered a 5-year, $100 million deal to Sean Payton to be the head coach. So things are starting to align. We're thinking, next year this may happen? I think, Coop, that's what...
It was done. I told you guys this. I was fired up on the conspiracy train. It was done. Everything was in place until Bill. That dirty old bastard. Bill Belichick.
Sent the text to the wrong Brian.
The wrong Brian. You think Belichick's ever made a mistake in his life?
Do you think he actually sends text messages?
That's a great point. He probably bought a phone just to do that.
What an asshole.
Oh. He bought
the burner. Belichick burner. He's got a Nokia. Triple clicking them numbers, trying to get to that letter.
Yeah. To me, I think he'll be there. I think he'll end up there. I think he's already got ownership lined up. Peyton's taking a year off. Obviously, he's already had the offer. He even went on record saying that Party spoke about this deal. He didn't get into the details of it because he said he was stepping away, but he did confirm that conversations happened about him going to Miami. Arians said this week as well that he would probably still be coaching if Brady had stayed retired. I don't know why he said that or what he was hoping to get out of it, but he did make that comment, which again speaks to the same thing, that Brady was out and they all wanted to part ways, and Bill screwed it up. But this is, the level of tampering this takes, right? I mean, we're calling this a conspiracy theory because it took so many moving pieces and it was there. Like, this is, again, you can't have this in your league. You have rules against this and it's happening.
Yeah, with quite possibly the most, I'm looking for a word here, the most out there, everybody knows who he is, absolute gigantic superstar. Polarizing. That's the word I'm looking for. He's the most polarizing figure in the NFL history. And all of this is being surrounded through him. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So we think this is going to kind of happen. You think it's still going to happen, or you think that now that this stuff has come out, they're going to kind of nix it? Do you think he still ends up with the Dolphins?
I think he's in the front office job. I don't know if he steps on the field for him, but I think whenever he's done playing in Tampa, which I do believe is 1 year and done, that he's in Miami's at least front office.
That makes sense. Do you think he's a front office guy or an on-the-field guy? Maybe
he's a bring the revenue in guy. Tom Brady's with the Dolphins.
I think he's on the golf course guy. I think we won't ever see him. But I think he plays. I think he plays after this year. I think now the real kicker is whoever wants him other than the Dolphins knows the price tag. They know what it's going to take. And the Dolphins are going to have a lot more competition since they won't be able to collude because everybody knows what they're already colluding. So I think he's going to play again after this year, unless something bad happens on the field and he gets hurt. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Because, I mean, what happens if Mike McDaniel goes out and kills it first year, takes the Dolphins to the playoffs with his revamped offense? I mean, are you really just going to cut him for Sean Payton?
Yeah, I don't know that Payton still happens. I think they might have missed the boat on that. If Brady plays again in this age of player empowerment, he's building a mansion in Miami. Again, publicly noted, there's reports out there he's building a house. I don't think he allows them to trade him anywhere else. I think he says, if you trade me to Seattle, I'm retiring. You trade me to Pittsburgh, I'm out. Like, I don't see him going to another quarterback needy team.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're right. Miami may not be quarterback needy. Like, they could have a great year, and he just takes the Jeter route.
Yeah, we talked about Tyreek Hill kind of getting the media off of Tua's back recently because for some reason people want Tua to fail, and they don't think he's very good. But Tua has all the pieces, so if he doesn't perform this year, they might be looking for a quarterback next year. So, yep. Moving on to the next team down the list, and that's kind of pretty crappy to say. We have the Los Angeles Chargers owner sued by the sister. Los Angeles Chargers owner and chairman Dean Spanos is being sued by his sister and team co-owner D. Spanos Barbarian. First of all, the Spanos family, can you not be more creative on your names? Dean and D, like, really? Come on now.
They didn't pick their own.
I'm talking about the mom and dad.
Yeah.
Come on, fellas. Apparently, D, the sister, is accusing him of misogynistic behavior and repeated breaches of fiduciary duty. That's two completely different things in his role as controlling owner of the NFL franchise. First of all, being misogynistic and also breaching fiduciary duty. That's financial issues, right? Am I mistaken? Is that what that means? Financial?
Believe so.
And misogynistic is being not negative, not just, not treating women like they should be treated.
Anti-women, really, yeah.
So, Dean Spanos, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? Haven't you learned enough from Dan Snyder? I mean, I don't. Do you guys honestly think that a lot of this stuff is happening in every other franchise as well? I mean, you're looking at what, 3 or 4?
There's not many.
There's not many. It hasn't happened in.
There are a quarter of NFL franchises, I counted them up, 8, that have current active legal action in their organization. I'm not talking about a player who got a DUI. I'm not talking about a coach who's got some kind of affair going on. I'm talking about legal action against the franchise. 8 out of 32 teams. 25% of your league. That's insane. That's what we know about. The Cowboys thing was settled out of court. I think Gruden and the Raiders.
And I hadn't heard about the Cowboys thing until you brought it up on the show.
Yeah. Gruden and the Raiders, it's not legal. It's over, right? I don't think the investigation's closed. He's out of the league. They're looking into what he did at Washington, which adds to that shit show. You got Urban Meyer just up and leaving in Jacksonville. Nobody knows what's going on.
Kicking kickers.
The Browns traded for legal action, but they're not named in any of it. It's the Texans and stuff. So you're still looking at another 4 or 5 teams on this list that we're talking about that aren't legal and are still completely effed up. That's a 30-year league right now. It's got character questions at the top level.
And, we've talked about this, though, boys. It's, those owners are the board of directors for the NFL. And whenever you have bad people running your league, bad things are going to happen. So I would say yes. I guarantee it. Every team probably has something going on. And I'm assuming the other owners are probably just better at hiding their dirty laundry than the other ones. Now, the Chargers one, I don't really know much when it comes to trust. but I know that they are very strict. It's basically they get left in a will, I think. So I think D probably has a strong case against Dean if he did break the trust agreement. So we could see some action happen there because I don't think she would have taken action unless she knew she could win. But again, this is why we don't see Dan Snyder get kicked out. It's because he's not the only bad guy in the room.
So a little changing the subject here a little bit. Can you imagine being Dean and D Spanos growing up? And you know how your parents and your mom goes to holler at you and she names about 4 or 5 of your different brothers and sisters before she gets to your name? Can you imagine what that was like for that woman?
They own
every
the
time
NFL
you hear the
team.
word D. What? No, she was talking to me. Sorry. Oh, shit. Oh. You know what I'm saying?
Their parents didn't talk to them. They owned an NFL team. They
Terrible
were gone all the
names,
time.
fellas. Terrible
Maybe
names.
the maid got them mixed up.
Do better naming your babies. Do better naming your babies. Jesus Christ, fellas.
There's 4 siblings. Okay, so the way the Spanos family's ownership's broken out, each
I bet is one of them named
sibling,
Deanna? Look it up. I want to know the other ones.
Michael and Alexis are the others.
Oh, that's stupid.
They got off easy. Or Dean and D at least.
I gotta guess.
Twins, unsurprised.
I gotta guess they are. But way ownership's broken up, each sibling owns 15% individually. Then there's a trust where 2 of the siblings are co-trustees and they manage that trust of 36%. So nobody, from my understanding, has a controlling share of ownership. So they have to make decisions jointly. But I believe Dean somehow is the ultimate decision maker for the franchise. So what Dean is suing for and trying to change is that his behaviors are misogynistic, that he has thoughts that teach that women have no rights, pursued a campaign to punish, belittle, and humiliate, wasteful purchase of an airplane for himself that has no legitimate business justification. Just a lot of those claims in there.
Let the dude buy a jet. Jesus Christ.
But if she wins...
Well, I thought the big one was he moved the team from San Diego. I thought that was like her biggest claim.
It may be in here. I'm skimming an article real quick, real time. I don't see the move in here.
Apart from all of that, the bottom line is the Spanos family can't name kids right, and the NFL owners and front offices are literally going to run this organization into the ground. And now by organization, I'm talking about the NFL. Until things start changing, and like you said about the Watson case, until some examples are being made of these individuals making these mistakes, nothing's going to change. And the problem is everybody is going to continue to watch football. I know we are. We're going to watch it every weekend. I'm going to watch the Bengals play every single week. We're going to play fantasy football. I'm going to get my ass beat, but we're going to do it every week.
That's what I was going to ask you guys. Are we?
What?
Should we still watch the NFL?
Yeah, we're going to watch the NFL.
Am I going to pour my money into the viewership and into merchandising or go into a game or put my money into ESPN
I don't pay a dime to watch
fantasy
to watch football. I'm not paying a dime to watch football.
They're getting revenue from every viewer.
I know they're getting revenue, but I'm not paying it. I'm paying a Hulu subscriber. I watch other things besides football. So I might as well be paying the Nickelodeon because I watch Peppa Pig constantly. But Peppa Pig gets my money just like the NFL gets my money. It doesn't matter. I'm going to watch it because I'm a Bengals fan, and I think the Bengals front office is too damn dumb to do anything like this. They're too old. They can barely move and breathe right. So I think we're safe. So
yeah, I'm in too deep. I'm in too deep.
No, you can't give it up. It's like a bad drug.
It's just
it's bad, but you're still gonna go watch it.
Let me rephrase that. If there's a sport, a professional sport, league, event, organization that deserves to be boycotted, who is it?
It's the NFL for sure.
Are they the worst governed, the worst ran, the worst controlled league?
They have the worst publicity.
Well, we could say the LIV Golf Tour might be the one that should be boycotted. If we're going there. But
I don't think they qualify for that yet. One event doesn't make you a
give them a couple years.
Okay.
Give them a couple years, and then let's start having people uncover some secrets on who's running that show. Then we can probably put them at the top of the list. But right now, the NFL's been around for 100 years. I mean, it's so long, like longer than all three of us put together. So the fact that we're still in today's age and time having these types of issues come up in the world of social media, knowing damn good and well you're not getting away with shit ever. So why are you doing it? Like, I don't understand. People are dumb. These are supposed to be, I would assume the people running these organizations are very intelligent. They're very educated, and they continue to make dumbass mistakes and doing, like, this is stupid. You should not be dealing with this type of crap at the top of an organization, of a multi-billion-dollar organization. But I will say this, apart from sports, we're a sports podcast. This stuff's happening in law firms. This stuff is happening in high levels of CEOs and high-level businesses. It's happening on Wall Street. We just don't hear about that because we don't care about those types of things. You know what I'm saying? It's a problem. It's a societal problem.
We're not.
It's not a sports problem.
I'm going to take a reach here, and this is a bold stance. We're not far from what is going on in the NFL. You look at these scenarios, and the hostile work environment is so broad, and usually in there has some kind of sexual-related assault or misconduct in it, in my opinion. I mean, most of the times when you get into the details, that is part of a hostile work environment. We're not far from a Me Too NFL. We're not. You saw it tear Hollywood down. A lot of people, rightfully so, lost their careers. That's happening in the NFL. People are starting to speak out against these players, against these owners, against these organizations, and the people running them and the figureheads that are representing them.
And people are going to scream like, oh, it's cancel culture. I don't like cancel culture. But if you do something bad enough to where you should get canceled, shit, yeah. You don't deserve a job. Go bag groceries like the rest of us. Whatever college degree you got, fall back on that. You don't deserve to get paid that much money if you can't value your job and do things the right way. It would happen in any other profession. And we hold athletes to a higher standard and give them more breaks than we do regular ass people. I don't agree with that.
My last comment, though, is I think it's bullshit that we don't ever hear about the Green Bay Packer owners that get arrested for Dewey's on Saturday night.
Oh, that's funny.
They get a free freaking
there's
pass.
how many of them? Like thousands.
The only owner in the NFL that's not a white man. They don't get in trouble.
Yep.
Just throw that out there. And that includes the Broncos. We didn't mention the Broncos. Just got bought by the Walton family, full of white men. They own Walmart. They are now the new owners of the Broncos after a $4 billion purchase. So we'll see how long it takes for something to come out about that.
It's only a matter of time, fellas. But appreciate you guys listening in. We're going to wrap up the show right there. Like I told you, we're hot and heavy on the NFL, negative comments today. Rightfully so. You get what you put in, and the feedback you get back is what you deserve. But we're going to keep you guys updated every week on anything new coming out on any of these avenues, specifically Deshaun Watson, the PGA Tour versus LIV Golf Tour. I'm going to watch the U.S. Open this week. I'm pretty pumped about it. Going to see which of those guys kind of make the jump back and forth. We already know Phil Mickelson's in the field. He was there today. Had one of the most uncomfortable press conferences I've ever seen an individual make. It'd be like me. It's like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. That's what it looked like. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video. Subscribe to the channel. Don't like the video. Subscribe to the channel. That's what I meant to say. But we're going to be pushing out a little bit more content here now that it's the summertime. It's hotter than hell out here today. I think it's going to be like 99 degrees here in Kentucky. We don't get that kind of weather. But again, we're out of here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next week, we love you.